Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. If you enjoy our content, please consider donating and following our socials. Now, here are your hosts, Lady Alba and Lord Knight.
Oh, hi, Lord Knight.
Hi. Look, the snow finally went away.
It's coming back, don't worry.
Grandpa always said if the snow lasts longer than a week, it's waiting for its friends to show up.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, that only works in the South. I don't know. Up north, we just know it's snow season. So today we are going to talk about, as a witch, as a pagan, just because you can intervene or interfere or meddle, should you?
Not necessarily. You may want to.
Well, and that's sort of my point. I think you're right. It's human nature to want to help. It's human nature to want to fix, to, I don't know, prevent, to influence, to do all of these things. But often, yeah, we see this a lot in the pagan community where people come to us and go, someone else is having a problem, right? It's not me directly, but it's my friend, it's my significant other, my coworker, whomever is having this issue, and I want to intervene on their behalf. And it's like, well, first of all, did they ask you to? Right?
See, that's where I think this is where most people mess up. They never ask that real first question.
Right. Were you asked?
Were you asked?
And even if you were asked, does it still mean that you should?
I mean, well, were you even really asked, or was the person just sitting there bitching?
True.
You know.
Well, but sometimes it's not bitching, right? Sometimes it's a serious issue. Something's happening. Somebody's dealing with something. And I mean, I get it. It can be rough, but it's like craft is not always the answer.
No.
I'd like to say that it is, but
let me put it to you this way. In a religious context, yes, it is always the answer. Magically, it's not.
Right.
It's when you start putting these spells and stuff in there and sticking your nose in there. It's not realizing your field of expertise.
Yeah. But then what if you have someone who is an occult practitioner and, you know, they're very well versed in magic? Then, because they feel like it, they go, okay, but I do have the expertise, I do have the knowledge, but again, does it mean you should meddle?
Well, we're back to, are you going to fix it the way they want it fixed?
Oh,
there's there's the rub. All right, I can see a solution to the problem. It does not necessarily mean it's the solution you want.
Ouch. That's a harsh one, but it's true. Yeah, it's true. Because just because I would fix it one way doesn't mean it's the fix that you want or need.
At the time.
Right. So then are we exerting our will upon someone else?
To some extent, yes.
And we're exerting our will upon the situation.
Right.
I can backfire real fast.
Well, again, you know, we got to admit that all magic is nothing more than will.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, enforcing that we do on a daily basis, but when we start to push it into other people's lives, that's where it tends to come back and slap us in the face.
But it's so hard. It's so hard to sit on our hands. And it's funny because in other faiths, right, what do people say? They just go, I'll pray for you.
I'll pray for you.
Right.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, but that's what I mean. Prayer is fine.
Prayer is fine.
But pagans don't go there first. Pagans go right to, let me start brewing and doing and
you're not sitting there going, hey, gods, I have this friend. Can you please give me the wisdom to know what to do to maybe help them?
Right.
Which that answer may be nothing.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Pagans, I think, have to be a little bit more willing to take a step back from the doing and go into, because to us, sometimes I think prayer can seem passive.
Right.
That's the problem. We all want action, right? We want to do. And pagan is a very do-heavy faith.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the passivity of just, let me pray about it, let me meditate about it, is more effective and more of what that person needs.
Or is it because we have this attitude that sometimes problems do work themselves out?
Yeah, but we're also impatient.
Yeah.
Like anything else. I mean, the reality is if more pagans took a beat from the Buddhist path, we would never do magic.
No.
Because we would just wait and
Right.
defer and let things work themselves out. And then we would go, oh, okay.
Okay. Well, then
That happened how it was supposed to. Yeah.
Well, now let me ask you, is this the same logic that we are getting from when we talk about healing magic? That sometimes healing people is not necessarily the correct answer.
I mean, look, I think that sometimes pagans feel a bit like the island of misfit toys.
Mm-hmm.
And we all feel like in some ways we're a little bit broken and we're flawed and, we're broken creatures and we know this. So when we see another broken creature, we want to fix, we want to mend, we want to heal, we want to do all of these things. But we forget there's a big difference between taking a baby bird that has fallen out of the nest,
right,
that is just shy of being old enough to fly, and saying, okay, little dude, I'm going to put you in a box, I'm going to feed you, I'm going to let you heal, and then let you go. And having the newborn baby bird that fell out of the nest, that is nowhere near flight, that can't possibly sustain itself. And sadly, the better decision is probably to humanely
just leave the bird alone.
Right. Let it die. Let nature take its course.
I mean, I'm sorry, if his parents are there, the parents are probably pretty close by watching anyway.
Yeah. And our intervention is unlikely to do much in that situation. And then we can't help ourselves. And I would gather to say just about every pagan probably has a story of where they have done this, they have overstepped, they have over-intervened, and it's bit them in the ass, or it's just been a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a lot of heartache.
And nothing.
And yeah, for no good or real reason in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like all those people that you see that find the baby squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, for everyone that actually lives, there are about 100 that probably dies in that situation.
Yeah, but it's tough. It's tough. I wish there was a better answer to this, or a way to, I don't know.
Because it's funny, you don't want that behavior completely suppressed, but you sort of do at the same time. You want people to be caring and empathetic to others.
Well, because compassion is important.
Yes. Right?
And yes, empathy is important, but neither compassion nor empathy by themselves, right, as an emotion.
No, you're right.
That is their entire existence. Empathy doesn't require you to do anything. Compassion doesn't necessarily require you to do it. It is an attitude. It is how you go about living your life. It is how you conduct yourself. But in nowhere does it say that in order to be a compassionate person, you have to put yourself
out there.
Yeah, or overextend. I think both of those situations come down to what can you give of freely that does not take away too much from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
see, this is where I think where Lord Men kept on beating into our head to know your field of expertise. All right?
Yeah.
So that way, when people come up to me and ask me medical stuff, I'm not a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yes, I did work in hospitals, but I'm not a doctor. Yeah. I'm not even a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it probably what people often fail to realize is that our most magical power is listening.
Yes.
Yeah. It's listening, and it's saying those words. I empathize with you. I have compassion for your situation. I'm sorry that you're going through this. But it's not jumping in to go, I'm going to fix it.
No.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I do think that from a cleric standpoint, This is why it's so important for practitioners, and especially groups, to have a pre-existing list of local resources.
Yes.
For any number of situations that can arise, right? Be it healthcare, homelessness, drug addiction,
shelters,
yeah,
food banks,
right? Low cost clinics
and stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, it's funny because we always said that, for Life Temple, we require our third degrees to receive a certain amount of counseling,
right,
and to study a certain amount of counseling from a therapy standpoint. But also, a great addition to that is a little bit of social work.
Yeah.
It's taking a couple of classes in social work or again creating that network of resources, because
I mean, just the volunteering for a hotline teaches you a lot.
Oh yeah, because same thing, folks who, you're right, like volunteering on a hotline, you become a branch of a resource in being able to say, my benefit lies in the fact that I'm listening to what this person has to say, and that I am able to direct them to what other things, right, that they can take action upon.
I can give this person a little bit of hope because I got some resources for them.
Right.
We can help you.
Right. But you're not necessarily going, here, let me give you a winter wardrobe and get you a hotel room and But it's easy. It's easy to fall into that because we so badly, we don't want to see people suffer.
Well, and it does become hard. When do you intervene versus when you don't? Yeah. When should you? I mean, again, someone on the side of the road in pain and stuff, yes, you stop and intervene.
Yes.
All right. We understand this, but
helplessness, right?
Right.
We intervene when someone is not able to advocate for themselves and not able to help themselves. Whatever that looks like.
And remember, when you're doing that, you need to advocate for them, not for what you think is right.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the situation. If you're looking at someone who's able-bodied and they're just having a rough time, give them resources. Don't try to do it for them. And another thing about that is sometimes help, right? Assistance. That is also empowering for the other person. If you do it for them, you're stripping them. You're taking that power away from them, and you're kind of denying them the satisfaction of feeling like they were able to pull themselves out of whatever the situation was.
I mean, because we have this whole entire story. I heard a long time ago, sort of along the same lines, about this guy who found a moth or something trying to metamorph and come out of its shell. And it was struggling, so he decided to help it. Geez. In doing so, the butterfly's wings didn't get strong enough, so he never could fly.
Right.
This is the concept we're talking about, where we think we're doing something, and what is that? The road to hell's paved with good intentions.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you said a moth, because it's a similar thing. Yeah. Like if you watch a baby bird come out of a shell, that looks excruciating.
Yes.
It looks awful, and it takes forever, and this poor little thing is struggling and struggling and struggling. Yeah, I can probably think almost immediately most pagans would be like, let me just take the shell off. No, stop it. This has been going on for hundreds of thousands of years before you.
This is how this bird strengthened its muscles to get out to survive.
Yeah. Exactly. If this bird doesn't go through this, they might not make it. So, yeah. But it's so easy for us to want to just jump on in there. And, and then there's the hero complex, right? The savior complex.
Yeah.
And pagans are no exception to it.
I think we're a little bit more prone to it.
Potentially, yeah. There are so many people. This is where a little bit of power can be a dangerous thing, right?
Yeah.
priests and priestesses have to be very careful to not start thinking more of themselves than is necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the I'm not special concept.
No.
And this is tough, for seconds and thirds. And as people climb the ranks, remember, at the end of the day, you and your first degrees are the same. Yeah. Literally the same. Yeah. You may have a few more notches in your belt, but
yeah, the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is also where, again, delegation is lovely because, well, actually, I shouldn't even say delegation, community.
Yeah.
Because if you want to try to assist someone, again, rather than necessarily trying to take it on yourself or magically intervene, sometimes it's really nice to throw something out anonymously to the community and say, hey, I have someone experiencing ABC. Is this anyone's area of expertise? Are there any suggestions? Has anyone dealt with this personally?
Before.
Yeah. Because that is, again, it's knowledge, it's community, that is where the power lies. There's a reason why we were the passers of information, right?
Right.
And, that was always the big draw of the town witch, is that we knew things. Yeah, but how?
We paid attention.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't know things because we were just
knowing things.
Right.
We paid attention.
Passed down. It was wisdom. And that wisdom still has to exist in our actions and our affairs today, which, is hard when we go, but Google knows everything.
Well, I don't know if it knows everything.
No, it doesn't.
I think there's 5% left.
Yeah. Remember, there's still that part of the ocean we know nothing about. But yeah, it's tough. We have to...
Well, let me ask you this. What are ways that you do to stop yourself? If we're talking about this, what are ways to actually stop yourself?
So what I do is I ask a lot of questions. I try to really get a lot of information from this person about the situation so that I am not, again, tempted to just jump on in there and try to do right on the spot, Let me really gather up the full scope of what's happening.
Now, I don't know about you, but when I've been in this situation, I do just like you and start to ask questions. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, you see the person going and telling you about this. You see that light bulb moment on there because this sort of helps them figure it out versus
you're working your problem solving by forcing them to think differently or potentially differently about the situation, because a question that you might ask may lead them to realize that there's something they have not thought about or explored.
Or taken, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So asking a lot of questions, listening intently, and then, yes, making suggestions. But the other thing is I force myself not to make any promises on the spot.
True. I
will take the time myself to sit back and think about what is feasible. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like you. I will meditate on this for 2 days and come back and see me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does help. And it gives you time to think. It gives them time to think. And
yeah. Because here's the other thing. Most situations, not all, but most, they aren't going to be solved overnight.
No. Well, and you got to remember when you are sitting down, you're talking about this and all this. Your first reaction is on anything that they tell you. You're going to have your own emotional reaction to it.
Oh, for sure.
And you're going to have to let that pass before you can start thinking about rational.
Well, that also brings up another really good point. You have to confer with the law of the land.
Yes.
Because if you are having a strong emotional reaction, is there a law being broken? Is there an injustice
being done.
Right. And in that case, do we need to take a step back?
Right.
And involve the law of the land,
Yeah.
in a weird way. And I mean, I know that this isn't always the case, but right, we talk about first responders. We talk, not first, mandatory reporters.
Right.
Right. Find me a witch who is not a mandatory reporter. Right?
Right.
I would be flabbergasted if I heard that a witch turned their back on a situation or chose not to intervene in a situation of that nature. Right?
Right.
Because at that point, again, if we're talking about the abuse, the neglect, the harm of something or someone who cannot advocate or fend for themselves, then damn the consequences.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that magically, because I'm not going to magically intervene. I'm going to call the authorities.
Right.
Right. And I don't care. I don't care whatever dust that might kick up.
Right.
I think, again, the whole, it outweighs the good of the one. It's
right.
that.
At the time, I need to make this situation safe for everyone, and this is not.
Yeah. I can't imagine the idea of there being a witch that did not consider themselves a mandatory reporter.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I praise the people who get the dogs out of the backyards that are being abused in the these things I understand, but then there are times where you start to get into people's personal business and stuff like that, and you really shouldn't.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that because there's a nosiness to craft.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's sometimes, because craft often deals with emotions. When you've got people talking about vendettas and hexes and, anything that could be negatively impacting them, there's that retaliation factor that some practitioners go to.
Yeah.
But there's an irony here, because what you should be focusing on is the fortification of the individual, not trying to pinpoint whoever is the wrongdoer.
Right.
It's like fortify your defenses first, right? Because there is, to me anyway, there's the irony of hexcraft, is that all hexcraft is something that has managed to work its way into a weakness in the armor.
Yes.
Yeah. Fix the armor. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Never mind. And how do you fix this armor? You do this through your meditation, people.
Partially meditation. But I mean, look, a fix in armor, right, let's be honest, if we're using that metaphorically, right, to talk about a person, it could be anything. It could be their mental state. Mm-hmm. It could be therapy. It could be their physical being. It could be exercise. It could be, but whatever it is, you focus on that person, not the external thing
out there.
Yeah. So it makes, and it does, it makes a huge difference for that individual, because then you're giving them tools. We're back to, teach a man how to fish. Right. For a lifetime. Right. Yeah. Instead of just handing him a fishy. Not that we don't like being handed a fishy every now and then. I mean, I'll take a fish.
And I'll take a cup of coffee.
Nice try. Ooh, coffee.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me